Hello friends, Jack here, welcome to Beneath the Beats. Matt Cameron sits in a unique club of drummers, not only being part of one legendary rock band, but two, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. In Soundgarden, Matt Cameron was the powerhouse behind some of the most rhythmically unique songs of the 90s. Songs like Spoon Man and Fell on Black Days. In Pearl Jam, Matt brought the same power and precision to a different context of rock music, being responsible for songs like The Fixer and Unemployable. Today we dive into the Matt Cameron sound and look at the drum setups that contributed to this rhythmic innovation with both these bands. Let's get stuck into it. So first of all, I wanted to highlight a couple of Matt's quirks. The first being his ability to make odd time signatures feel normal and groovy. He seems to transition seamlessly. And a good example of Soundgarden rolling these mixed bars is in their song, The Day I Tried to Live. Now here's a clip of them in the 90s playing this song. And just listen to this groove. You know, I thought it was 7/4 and then going back to 4/4. Can we get a definitive answer of where the one is and what time signature this song actually is? But shout out to Matt on that one. Absolute beast. All right, Matt quirk number 2. For a hard hitter, Matt is insanely controlled. He can generate power without creating too much wash or overing. And he picks the use of his cymbals and accenting impeccably. As you can see, very clean with his cymbal work. And accenting on the crashes there. Oh, I love these wooden hoops too. More on that later. All right, friends, the final Matt quirk I wanted to highlight today is in regards to his drum setups. Now, there are no bells and whistles here, and his setups are built precisely for functionality. Now, as you'll see in this photograph, he's got everything serving a purpose here. You know, he's got his 2 rack toms and his floor snare and a couple of well-placed cymbals. Even the wristband is serving a purpose. But this is what I like about Matt. There's no overkill, and he lets the innovation and creativity behind the kit do the talking. Okay, mates, now we step over to the fun part. We're going to take a look at segment number 1 of Matt's setups. And today I wanted to discuss Ayotte drums. Now this is a custom drum brand that Matt endorsed in 1996 or thereabouts. And he used these drums across Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. Now, this was a Canadian drum brand that was known for its construction of quality drums. In particular, a couple of highlights being the wood hoop construction and also the signature tension system that they used, which I'm going to explain later on. But I've put together a bit of a kit on Drumstructor here of Matt's typical setup of that time. Now, this is based on photographs and a few bits and pieces here and there. Evidence of drum sizing was really hard to get, but this is what I come up with based on what I could find online. Let's have a look here. Here is Matt in the 90s in that endorsement era of Ayotte drums. We can see the wood hoops here on this photograph. Beautiful looking construction there. And I think most of the drums were made up of locally sourced maple. Guessing that 6 to 8 ply on the toms there. Now, I did see a couple of variants of this kit across Pearl Jam. I saw him using the wood hoops in a show, which you will see here. Here he is in the 90s with Pearl Jam. And you'll see when they pan up here to Matt's drums, this Ayotte kit getting used. Unreal looking kit. Now, I'm guessing it's a deep purple. It looks black in some reflections of live settings, but I heard some people talking on a forum about it being a deep purple. So that's what I've rolled with on this Drumstructor kit that I've built. In saying that, I did see this setup or a similar setup with metal hoops. Now, there is a bit of a difference here with this. You'll see here the metal hoops, not playing the metal hoops live. The wood hoops are known to create a beautiful warm sound and a resonance with these drums. The metal hoops, on the other hand, are going to probably bring a bit more attack, right? Different settings, you could use either or, but mainly I've seen these Ayotte kits having wood hoops. Shout out to any owners out there of these beautiful drums. Now, the other cool feature about these Ayotte drums that I wanted to highlight was their tune lock tension system, which is a signature thing from this brand. It allows you to remove the head without unscrewing the tension rod all the way out of the nut. Now, you'll see this cylinder looking thing here. That has the ability to snap away, allowing for this quick head removal and faster tuning, essentially. This is looking pretty good. I like it. I like it. Now let's step over to Drumstructor here with my interpretation of these Ayotte setups. And there seemed to be a general consensus amongst forums and discussions of this being the drum sizes. Now we'll start with a kick drum. We have featured here a 24 by 16. I've gone with a 12 by 8 on the first rack, a 13 by 9 on the second rack, and then we'll step down here. We have a 16 by 16 floor and an 18 by 18 floor. Now, this is not hard evidence, but based on the vision and the photos I saw of that era, it is pretty damn close. Now, stepping over to his snare drum, Matt used Keplinger snares, and I know he'd featured these on some of the recordings. A 14 by 7 was floating around with discussions of recording in Soundgarden and whatnot. However, I did see a couple of things that Matt did like the 5.5 depth snares. Now, this looked to be stainless steel, but anyone out there that can elaborate on that, feel free. Now, I've featured a 14 by 5.5 shell here, which is what I saw Matt using in different live visions and stuff. So I just rolled with that for now. Now, the hardest part of this setup was establishing what cymbals he was using back then. I saw things thrown around that he was a big fan of Z Customs, you know, the heavier rock crashes and whatnot. The A series was a feature for, you know, display purposes here. I've gone with the Z Custom. We'll go back to that vision of Pearl Jam where he is using a similar setup to what I've generated. Clear kick drum head. Now you'll see the brilliant cymbals here. That is a characteristic of Z Custom cymbals or A's of that period. These cymbals looked a little bit smaller to what I thought. Now I've rolled with an 18 crash on the left side here and a 17 on the right. The reason I say that is if you watch that vision that we just saw, you'll notice the sonic difference. He's got the higher pitch on the right and the lower pitch on the left. And that's why I rolled with that. In terms of the ride cymbal, I went with a medium ride and it looked to be a traditional finish in vision. So that's why I rolled with that one. And over here, I have gone with a 19 crash. So for the hi-hats, I went a 14 New Beat A series hi-hat, which is pretty popular for rock drummers of the 90s. It seemed to be an industry standard. That pretty much rounds out this Ayotte kit. Obviously, you couldn't get the tension rods or the signature Ayotte tension rods within this program. That is setup number 1. All right, friends, just needed a quick sip of water, but wanted to say if you're getting anything out of today's video, consider liking and subscribing. It brings more drum brains into the channel so we can get more information out of them. But let's go talk Mac Hammer again, all right? Let's go. All right, friends, stepping over to setup number 2 featured today, and here is my Drumstructor kit here that I've modeled. We're going to go through this setup spec-wise. With Matt, he didn't really change his setup too much. You know, this looks pretty similar to the 90s. There are a few changes here with obviously cymbal placements and an extra cymbal this side. But yeah, the wood hoops are still here. Matt obviously had a preference for sustain and resonance. And I think I did see a video of his drum tech talking about that. These are actually 19 ply wood hoops. So yeah, you are definitely going to get some sustain out of these. Now, Matt had seemed to use a few drum brands over his career. And I've seen him use DW, Yamaha, Ayotte, which we just featured before. But this one, later in his career with Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, you would have seen this Yamaha Oak Custom setup. Now, this one is black. I don't know what shade. Oh, here we go. Musashi black with maple hoops. There we go. So there was a bit of evidence online of the specs here. We'll start with the kick drum here. Now he has a 24 by 14 kick. We have a 12 by 8 rack 1. Stepping over to rack number 2, we have a 13 by 9. Now going down to the floor toms, we have a 16 by 14. Less depth floor tom there from his 90s setups just featured. This one is an 18 by 16. So yeah, two pretty solid boomy floors. We'll go around to his snare drum here. Now it was a custom snare drum, 14 by 6.5 Keplinger snare. Custom made most likely for Matt. What is super interesting is Matt didn't really change his setups between Soundgarden and Pearl Jam from this era. Super streamlined by Matt there, and obviously he's using he's playing different songs, different grooves, but I found it interesting that he kept the same setup. It's familiar. What matters is how he plays the damn thing. That's really what matters. So yeah, we'll go through the cymbal setup. Now, what I could find information for, we have a 15K light hi-hat here. We'll step up, 17K dark, medium, thin crash there. Crash number 2 is an 18K crash ride. So he's gone a crash ride this side, so a little bit heavier this side. We'll step over to the ride cymbal, main ride cymbal, which is a 22K custom medium ride. And stepping up to this crash being a 19A custom projection crash. Definitely a different dynamic with that one. A more brilliant finish, a more cutty finish. And then this one being a 20A custom reso crash. Across the board. Sonically different, adding a bit more dynamic to his cymbal setup there, which would, yeah, definitely work across Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. Now, as you'll see here, I did feature a tour-specific or era-specific artwork here. Now, I just did this, obviously, for accuracy purposes, and it depicts that era of Soundgarden. In terms of drum heads, on the last kit, have absolutely no idea what Matt was using. Now, it seemed like Matt was using Emperor clears on the toms regularly in this era, and a Emperor coated featured on the snare here. Power stroke clear kick for the batter side. In terms of the hardware, we've gone with the 900 series Yamaha hardware here, and the Yamaha 9500 direct drive single pedal, which is high-tech stuff. That rounds out this kit of Matt's. Are you more of a Pearl Jam Matt Cameron person or a Soundgarden Matt Cameron person? Keen to hear what your favourite setups are and which ones you preferred from today's features. But until next time, take care and rock on. Cheers, guys.